But that is actually a good segue to our last segment, because we're going to talk about, again, another urban legend that it stands in the same categories as this one, where we don't know whether or not it's real, but far, far more sinister. Far more sinister. The year, the decade, the early 1900s. The place, Texas. Somewhere in Texas. The year, the 1900s. The location, someplace in Texas. The biggest state. Well, it's the second biggest state, but a giant state somewhere in there. There's a little kid sitting in his room. It's nighttime. He doesn't have comic books or video games or anything. He's probably just looking at wood carvings of Spider-Man. Has a little candle under his bedsheet to read. House goes up in flames. But then they move to another house, and this little kid sitting in bed, no candles this time, and he hears a noise at his windowsill. And he sees a shape kind of move away in the darkness. The little boy opens the window, and out on the sill are little pieces of old-timey candy. To him, new candy. He's like, sarsaparilla. Molasses-flavored Jolly Ranchers. And he begins to eat the candy. And he notices in one of the wrappers, and it's so funny, I'm talking like he's delicate. He's probably like, Cookie Monstering that. He was Lucasing it. The next day after his sugar coma wears off, he notices one of the wrappers has a message on the inside of it, and it says, "Come play with me." And it's signed, The Candy Lady. So, the Candy Lady story. What we know about the Candy Lady is this. There was a woman named Clara Crane, and she was born in 1853. She was married to a drunk man. He was a farmer, and one day he was out drinking and running the farm stuff, and their daughter was out there as well. And due to his alcohol-induced negligence, the daughter is killed in an unspecified way. The mom is just completely toast over this. Her mom Clara Crane can't believe that her husband killed the daughter, even if it was an accident. She then poisons some candy and gives it to him, and he's like, sarsaparilla, my favorite, and dies. She is arrested, but she's found insane, so she is put into the North Texas Insane Asylum. And it is there where her madness truly shows. I mean, not just killing her husband. She makes a new daughter. She makes a new daughter out of a bedsheet. So she takes a bedsheet and she rips it up and binds it together. And now she has like a Blair Witch like effigy style daughter that she carries around the hospital with her. And she talks to it like it's her daughter. And I don't understand did she feed it? Was it all covered in gross pea soup as she's trying to feed her daughter? But I guess insanity's insanity, and she probably imagines it's eating the pea soup, but in reality, everyone else is like, can you wash your daughter? And she's like, I bathe her every day. They're like, no, a washer machine, please. But anyways, due to overcrowding, there's talk about letting Clara Crane go, because she's such a nice woman. The doctors are like, she's pretty cool. I mean, other than that disgusting creature, that disgusting golem she's created that she carries around and tells everyone it's her daughter. Other than that, she's trying to get it to date other bed sheets in the hospital. She's like introducing it, takes it down to the laundromat, and she's like, you are the queen of the ball, my daughter. She ends up writing a letter to her sister, Aggie, which is a great name. This is the letter that was written. Dearest Aggie, I am elated. I have been informed by Dr. Matthews. I almost read that as Dr. Mattress. I've been informed by Dr. Matthews that Marcy and I, Marcy's the bedsheet baby, that Marcy and I will be returning home in less than 3 weeks. As you can imagine, Marcy can barely contain her excitement. Every night she asks, is tomorrow the day we go home, Mother? Very soon I will be able to tell her, yes. The idea of the talking bedsheet is bizarre. Like, if someone was actually carrying around a bedsheet baby, that's weird enough. But then to imagine it's having conversations with her, because conversations with the kid, I mean, does the mattress go, why is the sun in the sky? Well, because it is. Why? Well, that's where God put it. Why? Well, why? I mean, kids can be quite annoying. So I guess if you had a mattress baby, it would actually be a little better than a real kid, because then it wouldn't keep annoying you. But anyways, Marcy, the bedsheet, and Clara Crane do get let out of the North Texas Insane Asylum. And then about 5 years after that, kids go missing. So let's go back to the urban legend part of this. And this has an interesting wrap-up. But so in this town, apparently in her hometown, her unnamed hometown in Texas, children started getting candy put up on their windowsills. And a kid goes missing. And the cops are baffled. Again, we're back in the 1900s here. The cops are baffled as to what happened to this kid. Snuck out in the middle of the night. A couple weeks later, another kid goes missing. And now the cops are really, really concerned about what's going on. And it is then that the parents learn about candy being left on windowsills. Kids had been eating it and not telling their parents because they're not supposed to eat candy. They're not supposed to eat candies from strangers. And more importantly, they're not supposed to eat in bed. But they did all three of those things. So parents started to warn their kids, do not eat candy on your windowsills. Don't do it. You're going to get snatched by the candy lady. This all came to a head when a boy who was previously found missing, there was a farmer or a rancher or somebody was walking along a gully. They found the body of a 10-year-old boy with his eyeballs gouged out and his pockets full of candy. Now, the interesting thing about this story, every piece of evidence that makes you think it has proof seems to be fake, but you don't know. And there's basically two separate stories here. So let's look at the story of Clara Crane first, because that's the one that has the most specific stuff. Clara Crane in Texas, as far as I could find on Ancestry.com, there was a Clara Crane in Texas, but she was born 5 years before her mother. So the story of her being born in like 1853, or however, I might have misstated it earlier, 1953, but she was supposedly born in like 1853, or in that time period. The only person listed being having a daughter named Clara Crane was born after that. There used to be a place called North Texas Insane Asylum, so that place did exist. And there was a short news article about Clara Crane being sentenced to prison for the murder of her husband. But the article is not sourced. It doesn't say what newspaper it comes from. It's like a blurry scan of a presumable newspaper article. So it could be fake. We don't have a way to track that back. In the story of Clara Crane, it does not list where she's from. It's just a small town in Texas. This takes place in Texas. We have a newspaper article that specifies she was 28 years old. This happened in Ellis County, and she was tried at the Haddock Street Courthouse. So we get more details from the article. So that makes me think that the story of Clara Crane existed the story that people tell their kids about, ooh, watch out, she could get you, but you end up being on the far, far north of Texas. It's left vague for a purpose. The article that's being purported to being true specifies this was in Ellis County. So the fact there's a discrepancy between the two makes me think that either the Clara Crane actually did exist and the details have kind of been wiped clean to make the story more universal, or someone came up with the legend of Clara Crane and then someone faked the evidence, and when they were faking it, they're like, they just can't put in the news article somewhere in Texas this court happened. Whoever created this article had to give more detail. Chicken or egg, we don't know. But like I said, the person who's supposedly Clara Crane, I could only find one on Ancestry.com, but that doesn't really mean anything because not everyone's listed in Ancestry.com. So I'm back to square one. Is it square one? Or is it square? Yeah, I'm back to square one. I'm back to the beginning of the board game. That's where that saying comes from, Jason. Don't be an idiot. So I think that's where that saying comes from. But anyways, did Clara Crane exist? We don't know. It's super bizarre. It's such an unknown urban legend conspiracy theory, I think, outside of Texas, that not a lot of people have delved into it. I found a lot of resources on it, and a few of them were very, tried to dig into it, but since there's not a lot of information to go on, it's rough. So then let's jump. So did Clara Crane exist? Who knows? This woman may have actually existed at some point. But did she make a bedsheet baby? Did she write letters to her sister? We don't know. We don't have any of that information. And then let's go to the crimes. Missing children in Texas, possibly Ellis County, Texas. Kids going missing, candy being left on windowsills, a young boy found with his eyes gouged out and his pockets full of candy. Did those incidents happen? Again, as of now, we don't have any proof of any of this stuff. The crimes are, at this point, over 100 years old. It is quite possible that this urban legend came out of something. Either Clara Crane is true, and they created the story of the candy lady as a warning towards kids. Don't take candy from strangers is really the point of this story. Or the candy lady crimes are true, that 3 kids went missing, one was found dead with candy in its pockets. And the Clara Crane story was a retcon to kind of give this madness some sort of face to it. Or most chilling, that both parts are true. Both parts are true. There was a Clara Crane that was sent to North Texas. It was actually North Texas Lunatic Asylum. Whether that part of the story is true, and then later, back in Ellis County, kids went missing with candy on their windowsills. There's been a lot of stories we've covered on this show that are only like 4 or 5 years old that are completely horrific, like the guy who did the school shooting and the sexual assault at the same time. That's been pretty much erased from the social consciousness. We have the spear gun murder story that's been erased from the social conscious. So there are stories even recently that you think, man, how can people forget about this? And when we're going back 100 years, it's very likely, or I should say it's possible, that these series of incidents played out. The idea of not taking candy from strangers is something that I think most parents, if not all parents, really worldwide instill in their kids. What's interesting is that if this case is real, this may have been the origin of that saying, don't take candy from strangers. It's weird to think that the phrase, don't take candy from strangers, is used so commonly. It's like a trope. You can have a television show called Strangers with Candy. You get it. You get that saying. Basically, it's ingrained in our consciousness. And the crazy thing is that saying may be based on a real set of disappearance and murders. That saying we all use could have started in a little county in Texas when a boy unwrapped a piece of candy. It said, "Come play with me." He crawled out the window to the dark shape standing in the field. And that was the last thing he saw before his eyes were cut out. That was a clip from our daily podcast, Dead Rabbit Radio. Dead Rabbit Radio is available anywhere that you listen to podcasts. It's daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime news. If you want to hear the full episode that this clip came from, check the link below. Please like and subscribe. And hit that little bell, too. That does some magical stuff. Thanks, guys.